Alberta! You've probably heard the news that Alberta is partnering with Trans Mountain Corp and Pembina Pipeline to build a new 1 million barrel a day oil pipeline to the southwest coast of British Columbia. This is fantastic news for our province, and here are 5 reasons why. Number 1, jobs, jobs, jobs. Designing and constructing the pipeline will create approximately 150,000 high-paying jobs across Canada over the course of the project, and that's incredible. But what about the number of jobs needed to increase oil sands production by the 1 million barrels a day to fill the new pipeline? That works out to an additional 280,000 jobs for Albertans across our province. Altogether, that's more than 430,000 jobs created by just this one pipeline and the new production growth. From tradespeople to engineers to geophysicists to hotel and restaurant workers and so many more, this explosion of new job growth will benefit families right across the country, most especially here in Alberta. Number 2, royalties and other revenues. Many of the public services we all rely on, such as health, education, and public safety, cost tens of billions each year. And with Alberta having by far the lowest overall taxes in Canada and among the lowest in the developed world, this means we rely on resource royalties to fund many of the services you and your family need, which is why the West Coast Pipeline is so important. Over the roughly 50-plus years this pipeline will be in operation, the Government of Alberta will receive more than $265 billion in extra royalties from the increased oil production. But that's not all. The tens of thousands of construction and other jobs to grow that oil sands production will increase other government revenues by an additional $125 billion over the same time frame. Altogether, that's nearly $400 billion in additional revenues for the province, flowing from only a few $billion of government backstop to build this one pipeline. That's a pretty good return on investment for Albertans. And the rest of Canada will also enjoy higher revenues stemming from the taxes generated from the pipeline construction and connected oil sands growth. And all that new wealth will be used for schools, hospitals, addiction treatment facilities, roads, and other infrastructure, along with hiring tens of thousands of new teachers, doctors, nurses, and other health workers needed to staff them. It also means Alberta's low tax advantage will continue for another generation, and that's worth celebrating. Number 3, pipeline investment returns. Governments have built and supported a lot of roads, rail lines, power lines, ports, and other infrastructure to enable Canadians to get our natural resources and products to international markets. The Trans-Canada Highway and Transcontinental Railroad are 2 obvious examples. Most of these kinds of projects take a lot of government money to build, but generally the benefits are seen by the broader economy rather than on a government's balance sheet. Pipelines like this one, however, are very different. Simply put, they're very profitable. The cost of financing and operating them is paid for in tolls by the companies shipping the oil to buyers around the world. And the pipeline owners, they keep the remaining profits. Case in point, the federal government owns the Trans Mountain Pipeline that opened just last year. Not only is that pipeline already at full capacity and being expanded, it is also delivering over $1 billion in profit every year to the Government of Canada, and that's after all the operational and financing costs are accounted for. The new West Coast Pipeline, which will be co-owned by a combination of private, public, and Indigenous partners, will be just as profitable. If Alberta ultimately decides to maintain an ownership stake in the pipeline for the next 50 years, it would mean a dividend of hundreds of millions of dollars annually for the province and similar amounts for the federal government, our private partners, and First Nations. Literally everyone wins, especially you, the Alberta taxpayer. Number 4, world-class expertise and speed of construction. So why partner with private industry at all then? If the pipeline is so lucrative, why not just own and operate the whole thing? Important question. Here's the answer. Governments may have strong balance sheet and financial heft, but we are not experts in building or operating pipelines. That's why it's so important to partner with those who are. The private company, Pembina Pipeline Corporation, has world-class expertise in designing, constructing, and operating pipelines. They also bring a strong fiscal and budgeting discipline that the private sector is known for. The Trans Mountain Corporation, owned by the federal government, has already built the TMX pipeline along almost the exact same route we are using for the new West Coast Pipeline. This means they understand, more than anyone, the technical challenges, engineering solutions, and environmental issues involved with this route. along with the various First Nation and other relationships that need to be developed and maintained along the corridor. This also means we can shave years off the time needed to build the pipeline and billions of dollars from the cost, so Alberta and Canada can enjoy the economic benefits more quickly than had we chosen an entirely new route. However the final pipeline ownership structure ends up looking, having the right partners to build it on time and on budget is critical. And those are exactly the kinds of partners we now have. Number 5, decreased regulatory risk. Just as it makes sense for a project of this size to have the involvement of the private sector expertise and know-how, governments can also play a huge part, especially on the regulatory side. One of the largest impediments to the private sector being able to build these massive cross-country pipelines on their own is regulatory uncertainty. The policies of former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his anti-Alberta Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault did all they could to create a regulatory regime that would make it virtually impossible for the private sector to take on projects like this one. Not to mention their economy-killing production cap intended to phase out Canada's oil and gas sector, our country's largest and most lucrative industry. What on earth were they thinking? Thankfully, those two are now gone, and things are starting to improve. For example, we are now rid of that oil and gas production cap and the net zero power regulations. And the new Building Canada Act helps us address most of the issues created by Trudeau's Bill C-69, the so-called No New Pipelines legislation passed several years ago. But undoing the damage to our country's investment reputation cannot be accomplished overnight. It will take many months and years of sustained work by the province, federal government, and industry working together to get our regulatory environment back to where it should be. But Albertans are not willing to wait any longer. We need to build now, not in 5 to 10 years when hopefully all the needed regulatory challenges are fixed. Through the energy agreement with Ottawa and the trilateral agreement with our large oil sands producers, we will be able to more quickly identify and solve the regulatory hurdles that would otherwise be barriers to pipeline projects and production growth. Now, I guess we could keep fighting with Ottawa until we get the perfect regulations or laws, and maybe in a few years, if we're lucky, it would all be fixed. Or we could just partner with the federal government and private partners to address the unnecessary barriers to build a pipeline that deliver all the benefits I just spoke of right now. I'm done waiting, aren't you? We have one of the largest reserves of oil and gas in the world, worth more than $10 trillion. We aren't going to leave it in the ground, not a chance. We can and we will build this pipeline. We can and we will double our oil production, and we will do so in the most environmentally responsible way possible. And we can do all this in a way that generates incredible financial benefits for Albertans and Canadians, because that's what this West Coast pipeline is really all about. Now let's get to work and build that pipeline.